Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, August 2nd, 2015. Ra and Asha, Pin and Luce in the Lynn-Body-Mind, Black Wolf and Fritz, Betty Jean and Paul in the Jamie Body-Mind, other teammates in other dimensions, all of us in the physical dimension in one way or another. All of us working right now predominantly within the nature realms.
That's true.
We notice a lot of sadness present, and we believe that to be a clue about what is going to happen in the session.
That's true.
We could be wrong, but our intention is to do what is ours to do in all dimensions right now, to trigger the awakening right now. The data, of course, showing that what's needed is to provide a collective restart right now. And with that, it begins. I feel like I am some aspect of Pan.
That's true.
And it's almost like walking down the Great Wall of China. This is the wall that we, the nature realms, erected to keep the spirit world out.
That's true.
When their behavior became so impossible that we said, that's it, we're done.
That's true.
And now we see that it's time to take this wall down, just as Luce and Asha and Samuel and Azara were the force behind taking down the wall that the Angelic Realms was hiding behind.
That's true.
I am going to take down this nature realms wall.
That's true.
And I'll do it myself brick by brick if no one else will join me, but I do feel that I have other nature realms presences at my back.
That's true.
Who are also aware that this wall must now come down.
That's true.
And now as we are taking down the wall, nature realm settlers are moving over the line and settling the areas right outside the wall.
Yes, that's true.
The point is simply to say this is not about coming from a position of weakness, not at all. This is coming from a position of strength, and we are saying we see that this also hasn't worked.
That's true.
And what needs to happen is working together as a collective, all of us to make this work.
That's true.
And I have sadness about the plans that I thought would yield results that haven't.
That's true.
And Asha has been pulling up those trees she planted so long ago, like Sitka spruce. Planting Sitka spruce in Ireland is the metaphor, but planting something that she thought was a good idea to solve a problem.
That's true.
That was an invasive species, a non-native species. And
that's true.
The mistakes that we make when we aren't engaging in a process of leaving the physical dimensions for the spirit world.
That's true.
And then returning
to the physical
into the physical dimensions from the
That's
spirit
true.
world. These cycles of one up, one down, short cycling incarnations.
That's true.
Seem to be what the highest voices are recommending now.
That's true.
And we in the nature realms weren't doing that. We were just staying in the physical,
yes,
not having that one out voice. We did. We sent that team of 5 wise elders into the spirit world to
territory.
Be our voices.
That's true.
And it didn't work.
No, it didn't.
Something went wrong there.
That's true.
But again, they weren't cycling. They just went up there to be our wise voices.
That's true.
And then fell into the same traps that the spirit world falls into.
That's true. Can't just map from the ground, can't just map from the air.
That's right.
That's true.
Actually, you can't map just from the ground. You can't map just from the air. You need both.
That's true.
That just was in the wrong place, and it changes the meaning.
That's true.
So that's a signal. That's a message about things that seem like a difference so small it wouldn't make a difference, but it does. It changes the meaning. It changes the outcome.
That's true.
What now? How may we be of service right now
to provide a collective restart right now?
There's so much sadness. I see all aspects of, well, I don't know about all aspects of our team, but many aspects of our leadership team in their various work areas, taking out their old favorite plans that they were just sure would work if only, and then what comes after if only it varies.
That's true.
This will work if only blah blah blah.
Dot, dot, dot.
And then someone else saying this will work if only dot dot dot.
That's true.
No, it's time for all of us to give up our old pet projects.
That's
give them up. Me too, me too. So I'm taking down this wall,
pulling up the roots.
I Luce am finding the gems in the programming and then crunching the rest of the programming up.
I, Black Wolf, am turning in all the keychains of keys. I, Fritz, am pulling up what feels like roots of code.
Oh, interesting. Organically grown code.
Ah, it could be.
Interesting.
And for me, Betty Jean, it feels like flags or banners. Old banners.
Oh, yes, I see that. Well, for me, Asha, it feels very much like looking at it from two different perspectives. I can see that these trees are tiny and I am a giant gardener and pulling them up. And looking at it from another perspective, the trees are huge and I am tiny underneath them.
That's true.
But these trees must come up. I planted them and it was wrong. It was the wrong kind of tree. It wasn't what's needed. That's why the roots look like carrot wood roots.
That's true.
Clearly this is not what was needed.
Turning it in.
And Ira, it's all these models. They're chunks of the subatomic, chunk after chunk after chunk after chunk of the subatomic.
That's true.
That came from the models that I made.
That's true.
Trying to solve the problem.
That's true.
And making it worse.
Yeah.
I really have a lot of sadness about that. It's interesting. I had such pride in a record that was perfect.
That's true.
No harm done.
Clean.
A clean record.
That's true.
And
long, not like just a clean short record, a long, clean record.
A really long, clean record.
That's
and when
true.
I would stand in front of those crowds of people and they'd say, well, I have to hurt someone because that's what the situation calls for, and I could show them my record and say, well, it actually isn't true.
That's true.
You don't actually have to hurt anyone.
That's true.
And now I see that these models have hurt that which lives inside the model.
I can see now that these models have hurt that which lived inside the model. That's true. And the models themselves.
The models were hurting.
Right.
We created models that mirrored what was going on. What was going on wasn't working.
Yes.
That's why we were creating the model. How can we find something that works? How can we manifest the divine plan? How can we get this to work? Let's make a model of things the way they are, which are not working and therefore are suffering.
That's true.
And I pan, the idea of burning is an interesting concept to introduce into the nature realms because there are ecosystems that are built around fires.
That is true.
The Florida ecosystem was built around fires, burning
That's true.
every 3 years as the longest cycle.
True.
Every 1, 2, 3 years. It was
That's
a natural
true.
part of the process. And when fire suppression came in back in the early 1900s, the ecosystem just changed dramatically, and palmettos got out of control, and lots of other things happened.
That is true.
So reintroducing the concept of fire after such a long time of suppressing fire also is really devastating because the ecosystem has shifted to depend on not having fire.
That's true.
But fires were the natural state of affairs, and so we just go back to it, and we take the lump, we take the bump, we take the pain of adjustment.
That's true, the hard first fire.
Yes, to get back to something that we know works because it worked
for a long
time immemorial.
That's true. Time immemorial. What does that phrase mean?
We'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
But it means a really long time.
That's true.
From before when time was memorialized, from before when time was recorded.
That's true.
So that's a strong message, the phrase time immemorial.
That's true.
A message of letting go of our pet projects.
That's true.
Letting go of it, pulling them up, taking them down, getting back to basics, simplifying, simplifying, simplifying one physical dimension, one layer of physical dimensions, one layer of non-physical. Suddenly I see Paul in the courtroom.
That's true.
The assignment is to have another law of the land that says it's illegal in the spirit world to look to someone who's a criminal.
That's true.
For guidance. Only look to those who are engaging in the cycles of incarnation. One up, one down. Team incarnating is fine. Short cycling is fine.
That's true.
But that we must be moving through the physical at some regular intervals.
That's true.
Or we have lost touch with reality and cannot guide or teach those who we don't understand what life is like for. We can't do that. That's impossible.
That's true.
How's that going, Paul?
It seems to be going pretty well. It seems to be going well enough that we've now moved through the lower court system and are now in a higher court system. But it seems to be going well because the judges are so squishy, soft, that they just agree to things almost arbitrarily. It's like they don't even read the case before they agree on it. And so while we're doing well within the system, I don't know if we're doing well on a deeper level within the consciousness of the system.
Well, I can understand that this is going to be for us to do. So we are setting up checkpoints, nature realms checkpoints throughout the spirit world. People have to show their right to be there. And if they show an exemption from the cycles of incarnation as their right to be there, we'll handcuff them because they're criminals. And I don't know what we're supposed to do with that, but we're going to be arresting them, and what we're supposed to do I don't understand yet. They say that if we stop someone at a checkpoint and he or she says that he has the right to be there because the instructions from above say to be there, which I really doubt, but that could be possible. And then we will ask to be shown who they're listening to, and if they're listening to someone who's not engaging in the cycles of incarnation, even though they themselves are engaging in the cycles of incarnation, that is also illegal. We can't. How can we listen to someone who isn't walking the walk? This is about eliminating hypocrisy from the system. And we understand that it isn't going, this kind of change isn't going to come from within the spirit world. And so the nature realms is going to do our part here. We're going to do it. We're going to have checkpoints. We already are setting up the checkpoints. What now? With all these handcuffed people, what do I do with them? What am I supposed to do here? Well, what we're showing them is the video of that highest soul of Ra that we just recently came across, the one we're referring to as Christoph from that movie, The Truman Show, and how Christoph, quote unquote, melted himself down after doing a test dive in, and discovering he could do nothing. He melted himself down. That's a person of extreme integrity, and that from that layer and below, the working theory is now that all these higher souls should be melting themselves down into their own lower souls and getting into the cycles of one up, one down incarnation. And if they don't, there should be a stigma attached to that's so terrible that no one would buck the system. Maybe those are the choices we offer to these handcuffed people. Here are your choices. What you're supposed to do right now is melt yourself down. I'm talking to them. And here are all the reasons why. All of those who are, quote, better than you, unquote, and who have come to the conclusion that it's not going to work other than melting him or herself down and getting into the one up, one down cycles of incarnation. Either do the same thing that they are doing.
That's true.
or be branded
Right.
as something really reprehensible.
That's true.
You're so hypocritical.
That's true.
So hypocritical.
Worst of the worst.
Worst of the worst.
That's true.
Paint your face red.
That's true. My story is the majority are melting down.
The majority of the handcuffed
Yes, of the handcuffed people
are melting
That's
down.
true.
We have many spirit world people who are just hiding out in their
That
houses,
is
not
true.
going out onto the streets because
That's
they see the
true.
checkpoints and they see the people melting down.
That's true.
And they don't want to deal with it, so they're
That's
just
true.
hiding out. But the people at the checkpoints are, by and large, melting
Melting
down
down. That's
rather than
true.
have their face painted red.
That's true.
All right.
That's true.
There's still so much
Sadness.
So much sadness.
That's true.
Waving my learner's
Learner's
permit,
permit.
asking for help, for healing beings from the nature realms to help us heal these
Big feelings of sadness.
the root causes
That's
of
true.
them, and whatever they represent,
represent.
in such a way as to provide a
Collective restart. Right now.
They're just
That's
these
true.
big trees we have got to pull up, and
Pull
they
'em
come
up.
up with this big
Squelchy sound. That's true.
And handing them up.
Handing
These
them
are
up.
things we thought would be helpful, and they aren't. We see that now.
I can see that now. I can see that now.
Taking down the wall.
And also taking down the wall.
This was a mistake. I can see that now. This made it worse, not better. Everything to
Everything
the
to
midline.
the
And here's where
midline.
there's just huge
Sadness.
so much sadness.
Everything to the midline.
All those years of planning
Wasted. That's true.
That's how it feels.
That is how it feels. Letting go of the plans. It's not going to happen.
I, Luce, feel like I have kind of like a charm bracelet of all the gems plucked from those big dead-end programs.
That's true.
And a bonfire. I'm building a bonfire of the rest of the dead-end programs.
That's true.
I'm just going to burn them all.
That's true. Burn, all of us. Merge. Stretch. Burn.